From the Startup Experts community, this is the Becoming Better podcast, and I'm its host, Jesse Fries. Meica, it's so awesome to sit down with you. And just for everybody's benefit, it's Meica, Meaka, is how you pronounce your name. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Fantastic. So, thrilled to have a conversation here. I'm absolutely thrilled that you've joined our senior executive leadership team. I know it's a big ask and certainly on your part, a big give. But wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are when you're not working or not in Startup Experts. Would love to learn more about that.
Well, outside of working and startup experts, I'm a dog mom. My dogs are my favorite people. So if you've been in the intro channel, you've seen pictures of my pups. Um, Outside of, I guess, my pups, I am a talent strategy programs manager at a SaaS startup. So I get the startup world, and I build systems that help leaders do great work. So
Awesome. Startups and dogs.
startups and
That's a
dogs, that's my
that's a
life.
good combination. You know, I've gotten to know you a lot in the last 6 months since you joined our leadership team. But why startup experts? You're dedicating a tremendous amount of time here. Why is this group important to you? And why have you chosen to volunteer here?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story. Years ago, I led membership engagement for an ATD chapter where we grew from 50 to 200 members by really focusing on adding value. And after I stepped down, did some strategic advisory for them, I was looking for my next group. And this group really stood out to me because it's cross functional. It's HR, finance, ops. And when you bring those people together, magic happens. And then secondly, as I got into the group, Jesse, you introduced me to the Go-Giver philosophy. And that book really solidified my want to lead in this group because where else can you get that? You have the cross-functional, you have the Go-Giver spirit. It's just where the magic happens.
That's great. And stepping up into our VP of member experience, really important role. I appreciate you bringing up the Go Giver because one of our goals is
Mhm.
participation over consumerism, and the Go Giver really espouses that. The way that I look at startup experts and true community building is when its members come together and help build the entire group. And your team is responsible for that. Would you walk us through a little bit about how you structure your team, what you're focused on this year, maybe call out a few members and just tell us how the group is organized?
Absolutely. Great segue. So I have about 7 directors on the team and 40 volunteers at least kind of coming in and out. Um, and the way we're organized really follows the membership journey. So we're focused on how members are welcomed, how they find their community within the community, how they connect through leadership circles, Slack, and then how they contribute. So it's really based around that experience um, as opposed to functions. I do want to call out Kate Holzapple, Adriana, Vix, Tihana. I have wonderful, a wonderful group of volunteer directors who really drive this through. We could not do it without them. And I'm sure I forgot someone, but I just want to say thank you to everyone for the contributions.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, we met as a senior executive team and then we shared it with a larger leadership team, which is, about 90 individuals now, which is
Mhm.
crazy to think about. But we landed on two high level goals for 2026. One was, as I mentioned earlier, thinking about how can we bring individuals together to reinvest into the group, to participate, to help lift up
Mhm.
each other. This group is buy-in for startup experts, so buy-in for ourselves. So how can we encourage people to get more involved versus, just showing up for free stuff? So that's something that we're really looking at this year of less people, more activity. And then the other is building systems, is really thinking about
Mhm.
as we scale. I mean, we're in a fortunate place that we are scaling as a group and being able to put in the technology systems, being able to put in the financial systems, being able to put all of that in place is super important. So wanted to just ask you, how is your team focused on that?
Absolutely. The first is really building that go-giver culture, to your point, as having as in instead of having people kind of take, how do we contribute and how do we create that cycle, um, to drive real participation and not just attendance. And what that means for this team is really redesigning how we onboard, asking people what they want to bring to the community as opposed to what they need from the community. Peter Block calls this the gifts conversation, right?
Mm.
Really baking that into everything we do. And the second piece of that is really building redundancies. So things are not based on one person and one person kind of getting them done. So we're building playbooks, connecting directors so they can support one another. Again, building systems or leveraging what we have, which is our community and our people.
No, that's great. And more specifically, could you walk us through a little bit
Mhm.
about elements underneath that? I mean, you have individuals that are
Absolutely.
running member onboarding. Why is member onboarding so important? You have someone, Adriana, focused on social impact. You called
Mhm.
her out earlier. Could you walk us through at a more granular level, like those elements and how do we get people to get involved?
Absolutely. Some of the big elements we have now, for instance, Adriana's group is really focused on social impact. So she's bringing people together to both support internal startup experts, individuals, as well as embedding that into all we do. So we're really truly giving back, not just to our community. We also have Brianna running our onboarding group. And our onboarding group isn't just kind of that orientation you do in the application, there's more to it. There's the Go Giver Book Club, there's how we bring people into the group. So we have those pillars. We also have ongoing programs like our leadership circle and our job seeker group. So all of these different touch points are made for different kind of verticals and needs within the organization. And if you want to get involved, I'm sure you do after hearing about all we're doing, feel free to Slack me or anyone in the group. But the point is that each of these touch points creates an opportunity to give and take, because 'cause we're about the go-giver. There's the give and there's the take in those pieces.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I'm glad you brought up touch points because, as
Mhm.
I've been here, one of the longest members of Startup Experts, of course, is I've learned a lot about community building and how people show up for the group, and frankly, how they can show up. Some folks are in a chapter or hub market, so it's very easy to go out to an event, and that might
Mhm.
be how they met the group and how they interface with Startup Experts. Other individuals either are not as fortunate to have as many events in their local market, and are the type of person that really just likes to go online when, they're just tired at work and want to see what their peers are doing, and so almost their entire experience is, virtually or online on the workspace. And so when we think about experience, share a little perspective on how are we addressing all of those different types of experiences, frankly.
That's a great ask. So we have, like Jesse, like you said, just so everyone kind of knows how our system works, we have our Slack community, we have hubs and chapters that do events, and then we also have learning and experience online type of things. We also have events like Transform we support. So there's tons of opportunities for people to become engaged, and they're really built around who wants to be in those places. For instance, we have some members who don't go to Slack, but they come to online events, and our goal is to really make sure that every single event feels like Startup Experts. So every single event has our branding. We talk about our partners. We talk about the benefits of being in the program, being in this organization, and how it's really giving back to the organization, how we're learning, how we're building relationships. So that's another key goal, is for our teams to work cross-functionally to really bring that spirit alive.
Yeah, no, I love that. And the longer that I'm here, the more I realize that Startup Experts, its core deliverables is helping people really build long-term relationships. And in some markets, I know there's a lot of people here in the San Francisco area where I live
Mhm.
that have built personal relationships. They go to each other's houses, they know each other's families, they go on hikes on the weekend, which is amazing. It's learning and development for sure. And this group has been around 7, 8 years now. That people's careers have grown through the group, and this is a constant. So, delivering that thought leadership, delivering that lifeline when somebody needs a question. We're now moving more into And this is an example of it, more content, being able to share our expert opinion and our views on the world, which I'm
Mhm.
terribly excited about. But that's all about experience, right? It's all about showing up for people, sharing our story. And I've told this many times, and I shared at the orientation every time I'm lucky to meet new members joining, and that is this is not a numbers game. Like, we're not building startup experts to be a community of thousands and thousands of people. It might end up that way at some point, but what we're really focused on, and I know that you're aligned with me on this, is that it's engagement of number of members that is the most important metric. So as we wrap up this call, any last thoughts? How can people reach out to you? How can they help you and your team with delivering on those goals?
Well, join the team if you would like. But what I really want members to know is we're building a community where relationship is the point, Jesse, like you said, not programming, not content. It's relationship. We have programming, we have content, but it's really, do these people come to your wedding, right? Do they come and do they support you? And it's every touch point we design is really made for connection. So if you have an idea, if you have an experience you want to share, put it in the Go Giver group, reach out to me. I would love to hear about what's going on with you and startup experts because I know that those individual coffees and those wonderful things aren't always recorded. So
That's amazing. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today. Appreciate you, Mika, and look forward to working together for the next year.
exciting. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you for listening to this Becoming Better with Startup Experts discussion. If you're interested in learning more about our community and perhaps joining, please visit www.startupexperts.us.